Hello,
Hello, Mama.
Hi.
Hello, Lisa. First,
Lisa.
ladies first. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be with you. It's so amazing with the technology. We've got you in France and Mohammed in Egypt, and I'm in Vermont, in the United States. We can all have a conversation. It's so
We
fascinating.
yeah, we got it. We got to connect a few steps on technology, but it went well. We're on time, and we're so glad to have you in. We all know together since since a long time, and met our partner. So we're so glad to be here and to help the entrepreneurs. That's what we're doing in these talks in the entrepreneurs community. Share your knowledge and how much it can help and go on. We'll talk about the different topic today. We'll be more on the mindset, but that's so important to have your mind that works with your skills. So that's going to be what we're going to do today. Yeah. So we have the talk, with Lisa, just to present very quickly. Lisa's a mindset coach for entrepreneurs to help you fill the gaps, empower all your business. But you're also, and congrats, a best-selling author for your book "In Every Belief There's a Lie." I mentioned that in belief you have a lie, LIE, which is you have to read the book to understand all it. So we're proud to have you, and
Well,
yeah, you have it. Yeah,
of course I have
yeah. That's so great. Yeah, so that's what having you here. We'll go through has our talk on the different on these topics and how it can help the community. How also it can help us on Cogya, where we are a startup studio where we help entrepreneurs launch their ID, their product on the digital part, building their product, their business. So and how. And we work together also with other entrepreneurs on defining their why on it, and it's very important. So to jump very quickly, what's the because you'll talk about the why a little bit more, and also your why coach, certified why coach. You'll tell us about that.
Sure. Well, I go back to the reason why I got into this work is because as a small child, I had undiagnosed learning disabilities. And so I struggled in school. And the idea of, going through where everyone can read and write and do their numbers, and I couldn't. And I spent every summer in summer school and thinking that I wasn't smart. So by the time I was about 38 years old, I was deeply depressed. I didn't want to be here anymore. And someone suggested a hypnotist, and I was like, "Are they going to make me quack like a duck?" I was going from therapist to therapist 2 to 3 days a week, and nothing was helping me. So I went to see a hypnotist, and she was able to get to the root cause so quickly, and she changed my life. And because of that, I went on to study the unconscious mind and how it impacts us in our life. And it's one thing to talk about an issue, but we have all these different brain frequencies. And when you can get to this part of your thoughts and get to the root cause of why you think what you do, we can trace back to our childhood, but we can also inherit beliefs. So if there are beliefs around scarcity and money issues that are your grandparents or great grandparents, you can inherit that as well and go through your life with these issues and not have any idea. So I was working through my own stuff over the years, and I started my own business as a mindset coach, and I was struggling with my branding. And I was really trying to figure out who I wanted to talk to. As I had done all of this work on myself, I was helping others. And all these marketing experts were telling me to work with these one type of people. Well, when I took my why test, because they were saying, very much, and we'll get into right way people, that's who I was marketing to. And then I took the why discovery and discovered that I am a challenge personality. Challenged people are outside the box. So I was marketing to the complete wrong type of people. And I would not have had any idea of that until I actually did the why. So when I took this why discovery, it helped me better understand myself, why I do what I do, and what gets me excited about what I do. And I was so blown away by this and how it changed me that I became certified as a why coach.
Yeah, he wanted to, and you're right, like you said, like it's one so knowing exactly who you are and why you're doing also your business and why you launch your business can align you and fill the gap. You talked like briefly marketing, but it can be all in all different aspects, like of course it's part of your value proposition, what you're doing, your core thing, and as you were saying, and on which spot you're enjoying doing what you do and to who you're talking to. So that's also how it helps structure what you're doing. And there's two, yeah, I think that's what you covered.
Right. And
Yeah,
and this is the Why Institute is based on Simon Sinek did a TED talk about know your why. And this fellow Gary Sanchez saw him speak and said, I want to know my why. And Simon said, I don't tell people their why at the time. He said, I just help people know why their why is important. So Gary went on to interview thousands of people over 10 years and came up with these 9 whys. And so there you have a why, but you also have a how and a what. And so the order is also very important that shows how you do what you do and what you bring. So you both have done your whys, and so we can talk a little bit about each one of the whys. If you want, I can go through those, but I don't know if you have any questions, Mohammed, before we go
yeah,
into
I
that.
think, yeah, I need to comment about this idea or of the value of knowing the why, because sometimes if someone has in his mind or her mind the purpose of why he is living, why he is doing exist, why he is doing some kind of things in his life, sometimes the answer is not clear. That's why we need the why to understand more about ourselves and
Right.
understand about our purposes, real purposes. As you said, it could be something that in our root cause or root grandparents or grand grandparents or ancient people or culture, many things can reflect on our personality, on our way of thinking, and understanding this why and digging deeper to get to know it much more clear. And then this will lead us to the what and how, as you said. That means you start to understand the whole thing behind your mindset, your culture, your knowledge, your experience, and so on. But as
Exactly.
well, understand this and link it to the business and partners you are working with and team members. That's crucial as well. I think me and Damien, when we did this exercise with you, it reflects a lot on the business. It reflects a lot on our understanding of this project, how it should be operating, where it should go, and how this could affect the business at medium term or long term. How do you see the entrepreneurs or the people you're helping them to understand their why or coach them to understand their why and reflecting this on their practical part of business?
Right. Well, I look at both of your whys. For example,
Yeah.
you two both have
No,
contribute.
Lisa know too much about us now, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Careful.
be
so,
careful, be careful. We're live still.
Live, yeah.
uh,
so you both carry contribute, and contribute is the largest why. And these are people who want to be of service to others. They're team players. They're always bending over backwards to help other people. So you both share that in common. It's a huge value for both of you. And that's important to share the same values in any relationship, not just a business relationship, but in a marriage, and your relationship with your friends, who's you notice when you suddenly find that you don't share the same values with someone or company, you can't get motivated. So Damien is contribute. That is his why. That's what empowers him. He wants to always help people. Then how he does that is by simplifying. So he takes large quantities of information and breaks it down into simple forms. He can take a 2-hour meeting and break it down and say, what we did is this, this, and this. And everyone goes, what? Where did you get that from? But he always makes things simple. And with the simplifiers, they're the ones who can also get stuff done because they see through the madness and the chaos and they can really fine tune. So he has, and also he's Better Way. And Better Way people are entrepreneurs. They're the visionaries. So if you think about people who are entrepreneurs, they're coming up with something better that doesn't exist. They are improving upon something all the time. So these visionaries are the ones who are in the entrepreneurial space. So they understand entrepreneurs. So he is like this perfect why for doing what he does. And you can tell because he's very passionate and loves what he does. So he's very much in that. And what's special about him is a lot of times Better Way entrepreneurs don't have Simplify. So they can come up with ideas, but they don't have the detail work to get things done. So it's so nice to know that in a partnership, you want to complement each other because you don't want to have everyone the same. And so Mohammed, in yours, makes sense. You're a problem solver, detective. People make sense out of complicated situations and problems. And so they're the ones who already know the answer before half of, someone's still trying to figure it out. He already has the answer. The biggest challenge for him is to his mouth closed and not answer it for other people, right? Because you already have the answers, and it's important for other people to know.
When I knew this and got this results from the test we had, I started to use it because sometimes some clients or even some people in my life started to tell me about a challenge or a problem. I know the answer, but I figured out and found that when I share this answer early to them before they explain everything, sometimes it blocked them to listen to me or get the advice from me, my side. I started not to share everything that early until they pay.
See, it paid for itself. But it's also about getting them to draw their own conclusions, because sometimes the answer, as I have makes sense in my why also, is that sometimes their answer is not the same. They may do it a little bit differently, but they have to own it. And so that's why, as a make sense person, you have to be really careful with, giving them the answers. Now, how you do that is a better way. So that's the entrepreneurial visionary. So you're going to improve upon whatever the answers are. And that's really important. And then you have the contribute. What you ultimately bring is the way to contribute. And so the two of you love to give. And so as a contribute person, it's also important to receive. And that's one of the biggest challenges, is that contribute people like to give a lot and can drain their resources and exhaust themselves because they love to do so much for others. Now, to give you a sense of my why, why this was so incredible for me, because my why is challenge. I challenge conventional thinking and think outside the box. Now, that's not for everyone, because for someone, and we haven't gotten into some of them, if I'm a out of the box thinker, and I'm now marketing to someone who's very much in the box, right way, very structured, like an engineer or an attorney or something that's very, very structured, I could scare the heck out of them, because they're like, wait a minute, we have rules. You want your tax accountant, you don't want your tax accountant to be a challenge person.
yeah. Like engineer people, or they're very like pragmatic, and or PhD people. Like, and you when you start to talk about other stuff, like we were talking like your vibration and all that. That can scare, and
Yeah.
and it's does not. And now owning that and knowing that you can adapt to, like you were saying, Mohammed, like when you know the answer before, now you're taking more time to, but it's for the benefit of the people you're working with,
Yes.
and the other, not to scare, but when you know and try to define. So sometimes we know altogether how or why, so we're able to navigate, and we'll jump on the question you were saying, but it's to when you start to feel the why of the other person. Even in the state we had the last talk, it was about sales. For the sale, it's very important, like closing and all that. When you knew the why of the person in front, you'll be able to adapt your presentations, how you talk to them. As you were saying, if it's a PhD or engineer that wants something very pragmatic, not to just to know, like you're thinking outside the box can scare, or simplifying too much is not good also, because that means that they're not working enough, or it's too simple. It has to be a better way. So knowing that helps in the sales, in knowing each other. So it's a very important. To be honest, it's almost, I'll tell that word now. It can be a life changer personally and in your business. To be honest.
Well, exactly, because going back to my story, because I didn't do well in school, I struggled. I had to come up with a different way of learning, right? So the challenge in me was developed at a very young age. So I learned to do things differently to cope. And so I always thought of that as something that was negative, that there was something wrong with me, that I was broken. When I realized, and I did my why discovery and realized that was my superpower, I owned it and I stepped into it. And then how I do that is a better way. And that's also visionary. So I have challenged people are visionary, and so is better way. And what I ultimately is makes sense. So I am an out of the box problem solver. And that's why I love what I do so much. It's what gets me up in the morning. A day for me is never a day at work, ever.
That's
It
important.
isn't. It isn't. And that's why I love this so much. But there's other whys. And you're so right. In sales, one of the whys is trust. So if you have a boss,
Yeah.
you have someone who is all about trust, and you say or do anything that might make them think that they can't trust you, they're done. These are the people who don't give second chances. It's very, very hard for them. They'll ghost you. So if
Yeah.
you hear someone using the word trust a lot, generally that's very high for them. So you want to make sure if you're going to be late for a meeting, you let them know, and
Yeah.
all of these things to make sure that they will always trust you. At the
And
same
And
time,
that's bad. Remember, we had a client that we worked on an app and on a startup. She also done her why to help us on their marketing side, and what I remember her why was trust. And when I knew it, I was like, oh, be careful, always do what you say and all that. But and then I heard on thing, but knowing that helps a lot to navigate, and it should be mandatory too.
right. Well, to hire the right people, especially as an entrepreneur, you have limited resources. And so you can only hire a certain amount of people to bring in your company. You don't want a bunch of people who are all better way and challenge, because you won't have anyone who knows how to get stuff done. You have to make sure that you have a simplifier or a right way. Right way people will create structure that's repeatable so that you can get things done depending upon your company. So you also, as I mentioned, trust. Now, trust people will bend over backwards. They will do business with you on a handshake. Their integrity is everything. They're amazing people to work with.
And,
Next,
and
then you have clarifiers. Clarifiers are people who will make sure that they are understood and you are understood. They will repeat back over and over again. The challenge is they repeat back over and over again to make sure that they're understood. Oftentimes, these people were not heard a lot as children. So the best way to work with them is repeat back what I just heard you say is, and you'll see this sigh of relief come over their face. As I mentioned, right way people who are very structured. Now, when you have a challenge person and a right way person working together, it can be very challenging because you've got someone who's creating structure. Right way people can be my way or the highway. So, one of the challenges that right way people have is to become flexible and open to new ideas. And what's interesting is I had a client who was a challenge. We took her assessment. She was challenged. She'd been depressed for 20 years. She'd been in an industry and a job that was right way. She was in the wrong job. So that was why she woke up every morning depressed. She thought there was something wrong with her. She was always micromanaged. Challenge people need to be outside the box and creative. So once she realized that, she went back to management and said, could I get into customer service? No, human resources and training. And they were excited to bring her in. So the why helps you understand better. Are you in the right career? Are you in the right position within your company? Are you hiring the right people for the right positions? Again, you are hiring for an accountant and you look at their why and their challenge, you don't want that.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's yeah. Go ahead with all the why. I think it's important.
Yeah. So I just want to get, so then we had simplify, which we talked about, which are the simplifiers. Mastery. These are people who do a deep dive in everything they do. They love to read encyclopedias for fun. They will master. They're the people you see who are like Olympic athletes, and then they're Rhodes scholars. Everything they do, they do it to the fullest. And the challenge with that is they want to give you all their information. So when you have a mastery and a simplifier together, the simplifier is like, oh my God, you're giving me way too much information. Stop.
And and saying that, remember when I've done it and we've done it together, like when I had simplified, that was one of the thing. I was kind of like we talked about it, like a shame on people that should have been mastery and would like for example with an email very thorough with all the details and all that, and me like in my mind I was just shorting it like in 2 or 3 bullet points, and I was feeling like, oh, maybe I'm stupid, like face to these people, but no, it's just the way we are. That's all, and have to
Right.
leverage, as you were saying, has a superpower and not a shame or something that goes wrong
Right.
with you.
So an example of that is there was a company that I worked for that was a manufacturer of equipment, and they had someone who was mastery head of their customer service. So someone would call in with a problem and he would start researching it and not get back. And so these people would wait 2, 3 days, sometimes weeks before he'd get back to them. And they were losing clients. So he had to understand that you need someone who's more of a simplifier or a contribute in that position, said, okay, I'll get back to you and then I'm working on it. Because mastery people can go too much in depth, they get too much information.
Yeah.
And that's what just into like what when we've done it, just the both of us, Muhammad, like we have contribute, now we know like I'm simplify his makes sense, and now it matches. Like I know when also he's like when what do you think of this, I know he has the answer, but he's asking, but now we're quicker, and he like coming, okay, go, and when I say no, it's we're going on something too complicated, and he knows, I'm sure that when I start this he said, oh okay, and then just go through yeah, just go through with it. And then also just to go get back to business and our like maybe personal experience, when we launched this program, the Entrepreneurs Launchpad, from in Cogya. When we started, we were just here to create and build MVPs, mobile apps, MVPs, and also help the client. But we wanted to go further. That's how we came up, just by contributing more in the businesses. So that's why we came up with this entrepreneurs program and Launchpad, because we added more stuff to. I think it was just a feeling for us to contribute more for the entrepreneurs, to help them more, and just not focus on one thing. And
Yeah.
that's knowing who we are, and that helps in our branding, as you were saying.
Exactly.
You can also offer, because when you're an entrepreneur, you start your startup, you have to know your mission statement, your vision statement, and it helps to build it. We're
Yeah.
here to help, and we use that word now. help entrepreneurs go to 0 to 1. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And help is like maybe a synonym or from to contribute, or it's kind of the same word. So it helps a lot. You were saying, but we're getting back to it. Yeah, branding.
Right. But you're both better way as well. So you contribute and you come up with a better way. Right. So you're always improving upon what you do and how you help others.
Yeah, yeah. That's very very clear. It started to much more clear as well, especially after the why assessment we had. And another very important point related to the why understanding for any person, and it reflects on both sides, the personal side or the business side, is to be more confident that you don't need to be the whole nine whys.
Right.
That's very
Right.
important.
And so unfortunately when Damien did his, we didn't have all nine. And when I initially did mine, they didn't give you all nine either. But I could always guess which my least favorite was. Now, Mohammed, we were able to get you yours. And what's interesting is knowing what your least, I want to say least favorite, but the one that is least important to you is just important in my mind as the ones that are most important, because they're generally the people that trigger you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So they're the people who you're like irritated. So when you have a lot challenge people and you have someone who is right way that have to work together, they can really challenge each other a lot, depending upon their working relationship and how much trust they have with each other. Simplifiers and mastery people also can challenge each other. I worked in a school where the headmaster was Simplify and the CFO was Mastery. So the CFO would send these, reports that were like 50 pages long, and the headmaster was like, I don't have time to read this. And the CFO didn't feel appreciated. And so once they realized that about each other, it wasn't that they were in conflict with each other. They learned to appreciate it, and they also understood what was important to each. And
yeah.
so the headmaster was like, just don't give me all the details, just give me the basics. And then if I need more, that's your job. I don't need to know it all.
Yeah,
And
that's very true. That's very challenging in the mindset of many people, especially entrepreneurs. This is a trap they feel in by getting with the mindset that I need to know everything. I need to do everything on my own. But that's not correct. You won't
Right,
be able to do this, and your confident level should be in a specific area, and much more confident should be in that to understand the areas that you are not mastering. That's how you should operate and get help from others and excel. That's simple.
right.
Yeah.
And my question is, how many times in companies when you get a review, the first thing they focus on what you need to improve upon, right? So if I sat across from someone and they said to me, "You need more structure," sorry, you want me miserable and in pain, or do you want me to do what I'm really good at?
yes, so getting like on a good, and you're right. Like knowing the least you have, we had that, and we know we were working with Mohammed. We were working with someone. He knows that I had very hard time with that people, and then when we did the why and all that all together, he did Mohammed's why. I stopped and I said, remember this people we were Mohammed. It was okay to work with that person particularly, but me, he knows it. I was struggling, and then when we did it, we hanged out with you, and I said, or we called. The next day. I
Yeah,
said, remember that guy? I think his why is mastery, because I was
exactly.
because I'm simplified, but it was hard for me. And then it's like it's not his fault. It's not my fault. It's just it was hard to to get along and all that. So that's where I needed the help of Mohammed, which is not simplified and making sense. And when you know all that, it helps. It helps a lot of every so many
Well,
ways.
it also helps you appreciate the other whys instead of thinking of them. And so
Reading them.
now I can go to someone who's a right way and said, could you help me create a structure? Can you help me put this together? instead of thinking, instead of beating myself up about it too. I'm not good at that. There's something wrong with me. No, it's just not where my gifts lie. So let me focus on what I'm good at. And then if I have to hire someone to do the things that I'm not good at, then so be it. Or someone else would be happy to do that stuff that I would just lose my mind on. And that's for and that's for all of the whys. And that's why I love it. So from the standpoint of branding, how you express, because the company needs to be a direct reflection of who you are. And that's why I initially struggled, where people were having me brand and market to right way people. Who's that crazy lady with the purple hair? I don't know. But entrepreneurs get me. People who are better way get me. They love it because I'm outside the box. I'm thinking new and creative endeavors and ways to help people. Or if someone has a challenge, my make sense is always coming up with solutions, outside of the box solutions. And they love that. So people who are really, who like to think outside the box, really appreciate that in me.
Yeah. I saw this as well in my practical life, different businesses and different times I work either for clients or even for employers before I start my own business. Is there's a crucial or a fatal mistake I see in some leaders they are doing, that they start to ask some specific tasks or some specific inputs from people they are not capable to do it, just because they are an employee in the company or in the business, that they should do this because they're getting paid for being with us in the business or the company. But most of the leaders does not see and consider the value of why of those people, or even what is the maximum value or the ideal value I can get from a specific person in my team. How do you see this, and how do you advise leaders, regardless how many business they are leading or how many team members they are leading, to understand and consider this kind of component of managing people whenever we need to seek the maximum value of anyone we work with?
Well, one of the greatest challenges that I see, that I keep hearing in human resources, is employee engagement.
Hmm.
And there's
Yeah.
some astonishing statistics. Something like 78 billion, $78 billion is lost due to lost productivity because their employees are not engaged. Those are huge, huge numbers. And another number is almost 70% of employees are not engaged fully. So when you hire people who are in their why, when they know their why, the employee engagement increases dramatically. And so
Mhm.
when you have people who feel appreciated because now they're getting to do a job that they love, they enjoy, their company is now going, saying, okay, where's your skill set? What are you good at? Let's make sure that we keep you on that track. How many times does someone who is really, really great in sales get promoted into a sales manager, and now they're managing people instead of going out and being around people and being successful? So there's creative, out of the box ways to keep those people engaged and
Mhm.
keeping them productive. And so when you're working with a company, it's when they're mindful of what you're really good at. And if I have a project that I want to give someone could give me something that's very detail oriented. I'll get it done. It'll just take me a lot longer than someone who's a right way or simplifier, because they like to get into the detail. They like to get into all of that, or mastery. They'll do a
Mhm.
project. They love doing that.
So regarding the leadership, what's the so for example, you need to you create your startup, your co-founders, you all know your whys, but you need to start hiring people, accelerate, and all that. Do you try to fill the yeah, what's the balance of, is it trying to fill the gap with people that are not your why, that for example us are
Mhm.
contribute and all that, maybe we'll need someone like thinking outside the box or mastery. Do you try to fill that gap, or do you have to be like with surrounded with all kind of people that are similar to you, to what is more I don't like, maybe not use that word, efficient, or what's more helpful
I
for
was
the
just going
client.
to say
Yeah,
efficient.
yeah,
Um, you know what? It depends on the company of what you do. You both have similar values and similar whys, but you also complement each other. And there's also the rest of the 9 whys in there too. When you think about bringing people in, what are your needs? What is it that you do well? Now, there are some whys that are in the middle that you can do. You just may not do them well. You might want to, if you have to now create structure in your company and neither one of you want to do the mastery work or, do the really fine detail deep dive, that's where you would hire someone who has those details. When you have a team, you want to make sure that you spread that out. You don't
mhm,
want, one of
yeah,
the examples they gave us at the Y Institute is challenge people and better way people are visionaries and big picture. So they love ideas. So they could sit around in a meeting for 2 hours and come up with all of these concepts.
laughing.
And then they leave and they come back a week later for a meeting. Who's created structure? Who's started the process? Who's got the wheel going? No one. So you have to make sure that you want to have people who have that. Now, there are some anomalies, and I've had two of these. I had someone who had mastery and simplify in their why.
Oh,
I know. And I had someone who was challenge and right way in their why. And I was like, "Do you have inner battles?" And they're like, "All the time." So this was interesting. There's a local brewery, and the inventor was challenged. So he was outside the box and came up with this really cool branding for his company and all these interesting ingredients and recipes. The fact that how he did that was, when you think of a brewery, you have to create structure that every single batch is exactly the same, because if it's not, you're out of business. So he had the ability to think outside the box and then create structure within the company to make sure that those recipes were in place and everything was brewed exactly the same. So he was utilizing his why, completely living that. And I loved the idea of that.
Interesting. And reflecting on understanding our why and ourselves, and even understanding other people around us, it give us more chance for better collaboration and efficient results we can get. But on the other side, how do you see the understanding of the why could reflect on the resilience level or enhance our resilience to in our life, or in even in our work and business, especially in some tough times and some challenges most of us are facing?
Right. Well, would you say that most of business is relationships, right? It's creating relationships, a good part of it, especially if you're in sales.
no,
The more you understand people, the more loyalty you're going to get. So in difficult times, you're going to have people that are loyal to you because they're like, they get me, they understand. So if you have a trust person and you're using trust language and they're like, wow, this guy gets me. This person, this woman understands me. And now I'm going to want to work with you because you understand how I think. So the resiliency comes in keeping employees, keeping people you work with
yeah, our client.
better and closer in community, and speaking their language so they feel understood.
Yeah, that's and it's also a rule in the, like in the sales, marketing sales. It's like it's it's easier, it's harder to acquire new clients. The effort is harder than keeping having your retention rate, or keeping your
Right.
clients continue working with you and also refer to you. And if you build it trust and loyalty, that avoids struggling on other stuff and having like all this heavy lifting on getting new ones, because the effort on getting new people and all that it's hard. We all know it's,
Right.
especially for startups that are trying to find their market fit, their business model. Then once you have the acquisition of early adopter and you followed him and you have this trust loyalty, he'll be able to refer you to other one, and then you have to start like
Right.
you're right now in the snow, but and have the snowball that that rolls.
Right, because the other thing, if you think about this, when you have someone who is loyal and is appreciated and understands you, they will often even, they may take less money to work for you. Money is not the primary motivator, right? And I'm not saying that's why you would do this, but you're less likely to have people leave for more money for another opportunity because they're like, this person understands me. They're giving me opportunities that are in my why. I can't wait to get up every morning. I love my job. It's going to be really hard to get that person to leave, or that person, the
Yeah.
company that works with you, to leave.
And it's one of the values of a good leader. That's what we had a conference where we had a talk with Mohammed talking about leadership, and one of the we're talking pillars, and one of them was the trust, and the trust is one of the why, and the trust is important for us. Even us, we started this business just with the trust, and even we get it with new clients or new leads. There's a big part of trust. Some of them it goes very quick because I don't know, it's just he's we're trusting each other, he trusts us, and so it goes a lot faster, and the trust is so important on the
I agree, and that leads to integrity, right? So if I know that a company has tremendous integrity and I can trust them, then I'm much more willing to really take risk with you.
yeah.
And when I know you at a deeper level and I know why you do what you do, and especially contribute people, there's so special to work with because you know that they really, really care. It's not an act. Like the two of you, that's your motivating factor. And I know, like, for me, contribute is like my number four. And when someone's in there, um, it's a very close three and four. It's part of my why because what I do is so meaningful to me to see other people, the light bulb go on and see their lives change. When I can help them better understand themselves, their business, why they do what they do. And what's interesting is with every why, there's a challenge. There's difficulties within them.
Yeah.
And as a coach, what I love is that as soon as I know someone's why, I know what their challenges are. I don't have to spend time digging around. So I can be efficient working with people and get to the root cause quickly and help them solve their issues. And that was another reason why I love the why so much.
And on the you I remember you once told me like uh you built one thing is it's what's important and it gives you also result and all that. It's when you're authentic, when you're at the same level and you're sure you're authentic, it smoothen the relationship and all that. And that's what we're trying also each time also to keep up. It's also most related to transparency. We just had someone we're starting to work with. That's okay, we're transparent, and it's authenticity, and it's so easier even to answer. It's not a no-brainer. I just have to be authentic, uh transparent, and just say the things, and that helps. That's help. There's also the business. Let's not be like uh uh just like too naive, but there's still the business aspect. But just going back to this kind of of values is it helps a lot. You're faster, you're more efficient, and also you attract people that will be in your spot because you want to work with people also with
Right.
that involves
So
in.
there was a book written by Dr. David Hawkins, Power versus Force. And in it, he comes up with it's called the map of consciousness. And in the map of consciousness, he said, there's all these levels of what people are and where they attain. And at the very bottom is shame, and you work your way up to courage and love. And what's interesting is there was a group that took it to a whole nother level, and they said authenticity is 4,000 times more important than love, more powerful than love. That blew me away because when you're truly authentic, you are standing there, just raw, vulnerable. And most people are afraid of vulnerability because they think that, they can get harmed that way, that it could hurt them. But I will tell you, and Brene Brown does a lot of this work on vulnerability, where she had Navy SEALs talk about the most important thing of success in what they do is vulnerability, and that they have to rely that every single piece is another part of them. It's almost like one body. One part is the arm, the other person is the eyes, the other person is the legs. So they all have to work together. And so when you're authentic, you have that authenticity that people really appreciate.
To be honest.
Interesting. Yeah, I think on the level of collaboration and engagement, that's clear, totally clear how the why could affect this kind of relationship between the team members. But how does it affect the decision making process, or making the decisions that we do for our business and work is impactful for the sake of our business in a positive way, not a negative way? How do you see this?
Right. Well, when you know what your why is, you know what you're passionate about. And then making your decisions about who do we want to work with, right? Because as entrepreneurs, as people who think out, who want to help other people and problem solvers, you know the type of people you want to work with. And so that gives you the opportunity to really focus on what you want, and you don't waste time. You don't waste time on the people, the type of people that aren't going to understand who you are and what you do. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, no, that's a good point, because sometimes you, even on the proposals and all that, sometimes when you feel like it's not going to go through, like as you were saying, why wasting time? You know that it's not, you're not going to be able to work correctly or whatever, and not just to catch up on it and just follow your, what you were saying, authenticity, and what knowing your the why, can we work, and we get along and continue the journey. It's about wasting time, because time is very important for entrepreneurs,
Right.
and not wasting it, and try to focus on what they're good at, what you're good at, and how you can help the best the other people, like answering a problem, or whatever way you do it.
And there are exceptions. For instance, when I look at the whys of all the people that I work with, very few of them are right way. It's a handful of them out of the many, many hundreds that I've worked with. And I will tell you that they are the exceptions, but they're the ones who are flexible and open because they know they have an issue and they know they have a problem. When I do a why assessment and I see that someone has a very strong right way, I'm like, okay, is this someone who I can work with? And I'm very upfront with them about the need to have flexibility, the need to be able to work with me, and that what I do is outside the box. Are they going to be okay with that? And if they say no, that's okay, because I'm not for everyone. But I've had great success because they also appreciate that I'm honest, and they know where I'm coming from, so I don't blindside them.
Yeah, on the, so yeah, exactly. So we like to cover, not to, we like, knowing you, why we cover, like it can help in HR, it can help in your marketing, in your sales, and all this different, also your leadership. We
Yeah,
thought,
your
and
teams.
yeah, and the question is, because we're a lot working in that space, and I know you are also, Lisa, especially like around Boston and all that, and how in innovation, how how to leverage that in, to be more innovative, or to have an innovative startup company, or if you already have a business, how to be more innovative. Do you have to check what's your why to help you do that, or get people that has a why that's aligned with innovation? I don't have the answer. You have
Right.
it.
So here's the really interesting thing, especially for startups. When you come from your why, it comes from a different part of your brain, the limbic part of your brain, which is where emotions are. So when you're asking for money and you're going through in front of venture capital companies and investors, when you put your presentation together and you come from your why, the emotion is what sparks and gets people excited, and you're more likely to get funding when you use your why. You're more likely to get the sales when you use your why, because you're tapping into the emotion, because the emotional part of you is what makes all your decisions. You may then go back and go linear and then say, put all the dots and the I's together. But there's an emotion that comes in that makes the decision first. It's why when you go in to buy a car and the salesman has you sit in it, and in the upgrade you suddenly go for a ride and it's faster, or it's a better color, or you pass a store and there's something in there that's way more money than you would have spent, but there's an emotional attachment to it, and you come home and you're like, I don't even know why I bought this. I just needed to. So it's the emotions. So in doing your pitch decks, in doing, all your sales and things like that, you want to make sure you put your why in there.
Yeah, you're right, because when we that's part of the thing we do in the launch pad, just to say we help the entrepreneurs like build their pitch deck also, and go in front of VC, because we know that the VC investors, they invest of course on the ID, but they invest on the people, and that is very important. And also the storytelling. So knowing where you go, who you are, it will help out your storytelling, and also be yourself, because the ones in front, maybe they will check on you and they will invest in you. So if you're lying, and never believe there's a lie, I'm going back to your book. I'm a good promoter, you see. But but there's a you don't have yeah you must not lie, and they will feel it. So because they invest in people also.
Right. If you think about the reputation of the used car salesman,
Yeah.
and I'm using this as a metaphor. I don't want anyone who's in the car industry to get mad at me, but there's
We're gonna
this
have a bad
reputation.
customer
Yeah,
report.
but you have this reputation of that, perfect teeth, perfect hair, just saying whatever they need to say to get out of the sales. Now, when you meet someone who is like that, you can feel it. You know that they're not
Yeah,
authentic.
and I think we were talking about innovation. I think that time is past. It doesn't work like that anymore.
No,
It doesn't work like that anymore.
no,
On the thing.
no. And the other thing about this is, when you know the why in your work, your company, your team, but also personally, right? So it helps you better understand your partners. Because if you know where they're coming from, they're not just doing it to irritate you, although most people think that. It's that, okay, this is what their why is, this is where they're coming from. So then you better understand why they make the decisions they make, and how you can better communicate with each other.
Hmm. Interesting.
And
Yeah,
when
I
you're
think,
happier at home, you're happier at work. And when you're happier at work, you're happier at home.
yeah, at the end, we're human. And even the people who advise sometimes to isolate the work from personal life or the opposite, it's a bit hard to do, honestly. Whenever you
Yes.
have some challenges in work, it will reflect on your personal life, and the opposite that happens. And the challenge now is the people, because we are people, where we deal with people in the business and life. Understanding others and putting ourselves in the shoes of the other should should help us to communicate much better and make different things in different ways. But what kind of advice you can share with early entrepreneurs, or even for business owners, that they need to consider when they lead their business, or when they need to try to discover and understand their whys?
Well, the first thing I think is, why are they doing what they're doing? Because when I hear people say, oh, I want to get into the entrepreneurial space to make money, how many of you want to laugh right now?
You ready to struggle? No, no.
Yeah.
Or
It's like,
ready to
yes, in the
thrive?
long game, yes,
Yeah.
we would all like to make money in the entrepreneurial space, but it's not a get rich quick thing.
Oh
It's
yeah.
got to be developed. You have to come up with a concept. And when a concept is outside the box, not everyone understands it. So then you have to have someone who can really explain what you're doing in language that everyone can understand. And when you use your why, it helps you better explain who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. And you better have a passionate why. That needs to be part of what you do. Because if you just say, oh, I found this invention and I want to do it because I want to make money, it's, how how many people struggle for years before they make it big? It's a process of constantly having to raise money and constantly, pitching to people and working. And yes, and then something finally takes off and it's amazing. But people just see those and they don't see the thousands and the millions of people who are working so hard because just having a good idea isn't enough.
Yeah. It's a journey, and that comes up with I'm looking at the time, and we could stay 2 hours altogether. I know, but we have to keep not just to like wrap up, and also maybe finish like what's we talk about the why, but how do you think? What are the tips? Because I know you're more broadly a
Mhm.
mindset coach. Like we talked about this journey, and it's not sometimes it's thriving, struggling, up and down, a roller coaster. What kind of tips would you give, like especially nowadays, like we use that often when we're together in the talk, like a crazy world, and with Mohammed,
Right,
even with you, like how do you, what advice or quick tips to
right,
help entrepreneurs to keep that positive mindset all along
right,
your journey, and
right.
even with the
Well,
down, how do you get back up, and yeah, what's your,
well,
I know
that's
you have a lot of,
resilience.
yeah.
Resilience is everything. And here's the thing, some of the greatest businesses have become very, very big during downturns, right?
Yeah.
So understand that just because you see difficulties in the economy or you see a challenge, that doesn't mean that you give up, because you have to have resilience. You have to have the fight. Otherwise, this is not for you. So keeping a positive mindset. When you get emotional, the emotions will cloud your decision making. And so this is one of the things that oftentimes people get triggered and they have a lot of stuff that comes up from their childhood, not feeling good enough, or there isn't enough money out there, scarcity mindsets. When you can go back and shift those, then you see the world through a different lens, and then it's easier to work towards it. But when you have a negative mindset and say, oh, this, how many times do people go into a situation and they've already talked themselves out of the fact that they're not going to sell to these people? They feel intimidated by someone, or they don't think that they're good enough. If you get rid of those belief systems, it makes everything much more streamlined, because miracles happen. Your mindset is everything. People show up out of nowhere. Circumstances happen when you believe in yourself. So much of it comes from that passion, and there's the whole thing, if people believe in the law of attraction. What you believe is what you attract. But unconsciously, you can be undermining yourself if you don't know what those beliefs are. And I see it time and time again, is the undermining of the belief systems. So I look at, where do you see that hamster wheel where you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result? There's a belief system that is holding you back. And when you shift that, everything changes. Everything will take off. I had this belief that I wasn't smart. I tried to write a book for 15 years. I finally sat down and released those belief systems, and I forgave myself for it. And then the title came to me, and then boom, this book came pouring out of me in 5 months. I couldn't stop writing, but I had to get rid of that belief that I wasn't smart. And the other part was, you can hire an editor. I was like, and so she made my words so much better. I didn't have to worry about that. So
Now that you even have AI that can help you on something.
yes, yes. And and there are people who use AI, and I'm glad that I didn't, because that whole process was very cathartic for me. But yeah, it was quite a birthing experience.
Yeah, so keep you on.
Interesting. Yeah, I totally agree with the resilience. All what you've shared, Lisa, totally makes sense to me, especially the resilience point. Honestly, the resilience was not one of my values, or I was not considering it in my life and in my way of doing business and working with people. But when I started to implement it in life, that was like 2 years something less than 3 years. I started to be more confident and be more taking risk. And as well, if something that didn't work, let's do the next thing. That makes progress much better. That makes a lot of things that happens in a very short time. And instead of struggling on something that is not working for a very long time and nothing new is happening as well. That's very crucial. Resilience. It's the secret key.
That's the final word. Difference.
And that's a very matching the theme of our lives. That's the day after tomorrow concept,
Yep.
and being resilient in doing business. That will make all of us
Yeah.
making business and doing a lot of successful things even during this type of economical bad times. That's why we're talking here.
Yeah, yeah, and that you're doing in tomorrow,
Right.
and what you're doing next after tomorrow, whatever happens today, keep the pace, and things happen, and things happen. Yeah,
I worked just a quick story. I worked with a client who was trying to create a startup and had a concept that no one could understand. He had the why of trust. So he had built other businesses using trust so he could at least get these people's attention. And when he would try and explain his business model, people would scratch their head. They didn't understand. He had the resilience to keep going back over and over again and getting people to craft it so that he was able to explain it. And because he had that trust, they trusted him. And he ended up in 7 years creating a company that went to almost and sold it for almost $1 billion.
Wow.
Yeah,
oh
it
yeah, yeah,
was insane. So what I say is don't give up. There's different ways. You just have to try a different avenue. Go outside the box. Try it something new and using different language, using your why and finding the right people because it can be done. It's that keep believing in yourself.
Mm,
Interesting.
that's the
That's
one.
totally clear. I think we reached to the end of this live, but I guess we can have much more talks with Lisa, maybe, and talking about different whys and in much more details that could help people to understand
Yeah,
themselves and understand even the environment they have in their work in their life. It impacts us. I see.
yeah,
I can see this. I think we need to. We
yeah.
might help people with this.
It changed, yeah, everything, and just to things we're a better way. It's one thing we're saying each time after the talk. Last time we say, oh, we have to do a talk like that, but not three, but four, with like someone talking about marketing and sales, and you like
Yeah,
there's can be some interesting stuff. And same thing on the mindset. We could get on the talk and how it can sell, even the sales or the marketing or HR. I think HR could be a great topic to jump on with Lisa, someone that specializes in HR, how it can help. So that's our
yeah.
better ways thinking. But
Yes, and better way people are always looking for a better way. So you got to make sure that you
That's
just
us.
find something and go with it because you keep improving it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a pleasure having you, Lisa, in this
yeah,
motivational and inspiring talk. Definitely, let's make more in the next
I would love
few
that.
weeks.
yeah.
Thank
Thank
Thanks
you,
a
you.
Lisa.
lot. And it was a conversation I know, like all the time from the heart, from when we talk about mindset and coaching. So thanks a lot, Lisa. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye,
Bye.
everyone.